Alright guys, so I've mentioned a couple times that I sort pennies to pick out the copper ones, but I've never actually made a video on the process of doing that, so I figured that I should make a video now and explain how I do that. So first of all, I'm just going to give an overall tour of the desk where I actually do it at. So over here I've basically just got like a bag for wheat pennies and Canadian pennies and my knife to crack open the rolls, as well as my phone just for some entertainment, since, you know, just putting pennies through a machine is pretty boring. We've got the machine itself, which I'll go into detail about later. A sealed box of pennies right there. I borrowed my mom's laptop so that I can use that to like watch some podcasts while I'm doing that or something, just so I'm not completely bored. Over here we've got a little extension cord that I use to bring power over to the penny sorter, as well as whatever else might need power. So in this case, the laptop and a charger for a spare battery for this camera. And then over here I've just kind of put off to the side the coin counter, as well as the empty rolls for the non-copper pennies. So now I'm going to get up a little bit closer onto the machine itself and we'll take a look at how that works. Alright guys, so I've adjusted the camera and now you can see the feed tray right here, which is where you put your unsorted pennies, and you feed them with your fingers down the chute, and it feeds them into this thing right here, which is called a coin comparator. I don't think that's an actual word, but that's what they call these. And basically what it does is you put a sample coin in right here. So this door slides back and you can see the penny in there for sample. I'll have to fix that later. But it compares it to that, and if it's similar, it shoots it down this way. And if it's dissimilar or not similar, then it goes that way. So this is basically a newer penny that has no copper in it, or very little at least. And so if you have a new penny that's got very little copper, it'll go down here. And if you've got an older penny that's either a copper penny, or if it's a Canadian penny, it'll go this way. So there is a little bit of hand sorting to do if you want to catch those Canadian pennies. Once it goes through that sorter, they go down into one of these two tubes, again depending on which way the sorter sends them through. And those are basically just dryer ducts that I've hot glued onto some 2x4s that I screwed in to the desk and cut a hole for, obviously. And so we're just going to go under the desk real quick and take a look at what I've got going on down there. So under the desk you can see those two dryer ducts once again, and they're almost completely compressed, and that's so that when I want to take these lids off I have plenty of extension room for it. But what you can see here is I have the lid to a 5-gallon bucket, and I just cut a circle in it and then glued the dryer duct in here, as well as some popsicle sticks just to kind of press on it and keep it tight in there because the holes were cut too large. And of course those snap onto a 5-gallon bucket here, which is just a standard Lowe's 5-gallon bucket. And you can see some pennies down in there, and underneath those pennies there was this piece of foam, which is like a mattress pad, but it was really old and we just had it in the garage, so I cut some circles out of it and put them down in here so that when these pennies fall, they don't make that kind of a noise. And instead, you basically can't hear them until the bucket starts filling up and there's no more foam to absorb the sound. But it does a pretty good job of keeping this rather quiet, at least at the beginning. So far I'm happy with this setup. So I figured I'd run through one roll of pennies just on camera so that you guys could kind of see how the system works. And then I'll do the rest of the box off camera, so that's exactly what I'm going to do now. I'm going to crack open this box for you and just pull out this first roll over here. And we'll push the rest of the box off to the side and move back up towards the sorter. And basically what I do here is I just slice all the way down the plastic. Apparently you don't have to do that to open these, but I can never get them to work right without doing that. And then I just twist, and that seam that I cut cracks open. Pour them all out, and I just toss those off to the side and I pick them up later. Usually I would fill this table with about 5 rolls, which is 250 pennies, and sort through most of those and then add 250 more and just keep going through that. But for this demonstration I'm just going to do 50. So what I do is kind of spread them out and just put my fingers on 1 penny per finger. So maybe you can see that I've got 1 finger on each penny here, and I just kind of push them, and this is loud so I'm going to stop talking. And I just push them one by one through that track until I'm through the whole roll. And so let's take a look down here And I hope it's bright enough for you guys to see the pennies actually coming out of the chute. But I'm not sure about that just because this camera isn't that great at low light, so we'll see. So it's probably going to look like a motion blur, but you can see all four of those came out right there. I don't think you'll be able to see if a copper one comes out because it'll go over there, but we'll give it one more shot. And so we'll just move back up and I'll sort through the rest of this roll real quick, and then I can move on and do the rest of the box off camera. So I'm just going to push these through real quick. And that actually is more efficient the more the table's loaded up because you're not searching as much for pennies. You kind of just have some there that you can push through. So it's actually much faster once the table's fully loaded with pennies. So I'm going to finish up the rest of that box and then we'll take a look at the buckets and about how much I got out of that particular box, and then I'll go through how I double sort and we'll continue with the video. So I'll be right back in just a second. Alright guys, so I finished sorting that one box of pennies that I had, and what I like to do after that is dump out the copper pennies, which is the right side here, and I dump them out into the empty box, and then I run them through the sorter a second time, just because when you get like a jam in the machine and you have to clear it, sometimes a non-copper penny will fall down the chute into the copper bucket. So I like to double sort them just to kind of make sure that they're as much copper as possible. I'm sure there's like one or two that's probably still going to slip through, but that's still better than what's probably in here now. So basically I just pull this foam piece out first, which just dumps all the pennies off of it. And then you can see the copper ones down there at the bottom. And I'm just going to dump them into the box, which is now empty, which is what the pennies originally came in from the bank. And so that is the product from one box of pennies. Usually I like to sort at least 4, which is $100 worth of pennies, but right now I only had one box left because I haven't actually ordered any from the bank in a while. So now that the bucket's empty, I just put the piece of foam back in, and I will put it back under here. And then basically what I'm just going to do is take the pennies that are in this box and run them through the sorter again, much the same way that I demonstrated earlier with the roll, except now they're just unrolled already, and I'm just going to sort these through one more time, and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so I finished up that second sort, and now at this point I'm pretty sure that what's in this bucket is going to be almost entirely copper. So what I'm going to do now is just take it over to the closet, which is right over that way, and then I'm going to dump them into this bucket right here, which is where I've been storing my copper pennies. So since I'm just keeping these pennies for me and I'm not like selling them on eBay or anything, I just decided to store them in this bucket in the closet here because for the time being I don't need to know how many I have or anything, or I don't need to weigh them specifically. I just kind of need to store them, so they're going to stay in this bucket. So now what we're going to do is we're going to head back over to the sorting area, and I'm going to show you how I roll up the ones that are not copper. So now what I'm going to do with the non-copper pennies is just slide the bucket over here, and then we'll kind of set up the counting machine and start rolling pennies. Alright, so I've set up my little station for rolling pennies, and basically what it consists of is this coin counter right here, which has a little display on the front that reads out how many coins are in these tubes, which in my case I just use it to count to 50 in the pennies, and then pull it out, slide the tube on, put it back in, let it count to $1, $1.50, $2. Just basically go up in increments of 50 cents and roll it each time it goes up to the next 50 cents. I have a little red cup of pennies that I just scooped out of the big 5-gallon bucket that I like to just pour into here. Back here is a box, one of the bank boxes, much like this one. That one's already got some rolled pennies in it because my last batch of pennies that I did didn't quite come to a full box, so I've still got some more to go in that. And then here I've just got a mostly empty box of rolls. I probably should order another box of these, but basically they're just the cheap paper rolls. They're not the pre-crimped ones because those are way more expensive and not really worth it. So basically this is my whole setup for rolling the pennies. So what I do is pour these in here, and this is really loud, so. I just pour some in there, but not too many to jam down the motor, because this is still a very small coin counter. And then just basically I press this button, and this is actually wall powered, so it's not like it's going to run out of batteries or anything, but I just press the button, let this count to 50. If it goes over by 1 or 2, then what I do is I pull this out, and the extras should fall back here, and I count the extras and make sure that it is like 1 or 2, and that way I know that there are the right amount in the tube itself. So let's just give this a shot. And I'm going to give this one shake. And it counted exactly to 50, and none fell out the back, so this tube should be full of exactly 50 pennies, which is what makes up one roll. So I'm just going to scoot this off to the side for video purposes, grab out one roll, and just kind of try to squish open the end here, and just open that up all the way, and basically just slide it in here, plug one end with my finger, and then just let the pennies kind of drop in. And then I can crimp both ends. Just crimp one first, smash it down on the desk, and then I can crimp the other end, pop it in the box, and just keep going with this process. But since that is really boring, I don't think you guys want to see that. So, but anyways, I think that's about it for this video. So if you enjoyed it, please be sure to click the like button, as that does help me out. Also, leave me a comment about anything that I did well at or anything that I could improve. And if you would like to see more of my videos, then please do click subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later.